Welcome to the Arizona Department of Education's instructional video on how to complete the Civic Education and Community Engagement application. This video will take you through all of the steps you will need to complete in order to fill out the application. At the end of this video, you will receive a link to use to fill out the application. Please note you must fill out the application in one sitting. You cannot fill out a partial application, save it, and return later to complete. We recommend creating a shared document online where you can gather evidence and artifacts to complete the application, then fill it out when you are done. There will be more on this later. So let's begin. Welcome to the new Civic Education and Community Engagement application, previously named Excellence in Civic Engagement Program. We convened with stakeholders from across the state to rethink how we can better serve our civic education communities. Our aim in rebranding the program is twofold. One, we want to create a greater emphasis on community. Our schools do not exist within their own bubbles. Our students bring the outside community to school every day. We value parent and community participation, and we rely on our communities to support educational initiatives. Throughout the CE2 application, you will see a greater emphasis placed on community engagement happening within your school, and schools who receive recognition will commit to a community outreach project in order to keep the recognition for 3 years without having to reapply. 2. There have been 4 additional civic education proven practices added to the original 6 proven practices measured on the CE2 application. 4 of the new practices focus on action civics, media literacy, school climate, and social emotional learning. Of the 4 practices, 2 build on existing practices. Action civics builds on social studies instruction, and media literacy builds on the discussion of current events. The remaining 2, school climate and social emotional learning, complement each other in that they both impact a school's overall culture and response to social justice issues. Please note, there are not 10 separate sections in the application to fill out for each individual practice, but rather 7 sections with a few practices combined. Additionally, the timeline of the CE2 application cycle has changed. CE2 applications will be due at the end of the academic school year by May 30th. Applications will be scored during the month of June, and schools will be notified by the end of July. Please be sure to include a summer contact information for someone to be reached during that time period. Schools will now be recognized during the week of Constitution Day in a separate school recognition ceremony beginning in September 2020. Also, when schools fill out the CE2 application for the first time and are recognized, they will not need to fill out the application for the next 3 years. In years 2 and 3 of the award cycle, recognized schools will participate in a menu of options to show committed growth in civic engagement practices and community outreach. We look forward to reading your application. Please be sure to finish watching the video as it will take you through the necessary steps to complete the CE2 application. Before you begin to fill out the application in full, please be aware of some limitations in the application process. Number 1, Google Forms does not allow for you to partially complete the application and return later to finish the rest. You must finish the application in one sitting. Thus, we ask you to prepare narratives and spreadsheets ahead of time. Number 2, in order to prepare to complete the application in one sitting, be aware you will be asked to write 3 narratives on social studies classroom instruction and action civics, structured engagement of current events and media literacy, and school culture and climate embedded with social and emotional learning. We advise writing these narratives in a Word or Google Doc ahead of time and then uploading to each section's page when filling out the application. Number 3, the remaining civic education proven practices ask for spreadsheets to be uploaded. You will need to track your school's activities for service learning, extracurricular activities, student participation in school governance and decision-making, and simulations of the democratic processes. You will need to create these ahead of time and upload each spreadsheet into each section of the application. And number 4, your school is also being asked to upload a short slide deck or video presentation, no more than 5 minutes, highlighting the civic practices in action at your school. If students are identifiable, ensure your school keeps a media release on file because some of the videos may be shown publicly to showcase the school. Keep in mind we would like to paint an overall picture of how your school embeds civic learning practices within the school community. Do not write lists without descriptions on how each practice is implemented. Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor once said the practice of democracy is not passed down through the gene pool. It must be taught and learned anew by each generation of citizens. Formal instruction in U.S. government, history, and democracy increases civic knowledge. This is a valuable goal in itself and may also contribute to young people's tendency to engage in civic and political activities over the long term. However, schools should avoid teaching only rote facts about drive procedures, which is unlikely to benefit students and may actually alienate them from politics. Instead, students should engage in project-based learning approaches and inquiry-based learning opportunities to encourage students in influencing institutional policies along with other options for addressing problems they face within their communities. Evidence is accumulating that action civics enhances skills, knowledge, and efficacy. Construct a narrative on how your school delivers classroom instruction to increase civic knowledge and share examples of both project-based and inquiry-based learning. Include at least one instructional example with methods and strategies used for each grade level in the elementary setting and for most departments in the secondary setting. When young people have opportunities to engage with and discuss current issues in a classroom setting, they tend to have greater interest in politics, improved critical thinking and communication skills, more civic knowledge, and more interest in discussing public affairs outside of school. Conversations, however, should be carefully moderated so that students feel welcome to speak from a variety of perspectives. Additionally, young people are increasingly empowered to influence the topics and stories that are widely shared. Yet, at the same time, they are deluged with unreliable information and actual propaganda, and research shows that most young people perform poorly at distinguishing fake news from reliable news. Media literacy should be taught so students can learn to be effective consumers and producers and reproducers of news. Construct a narrative on how your school provides structured engagement for discussion of current events with explanations of A. Strategies and methods used for discussion, B. Sources used, C. How student choice is taken into account, and D. Ways that students are taught to access, critically evaluate, and create media. Include at least one example with an explanation for each grade level at the elementary level and most departments at the secondary level. Theodore Roosevelt said, "This country will not be a good place for any of us to live in unless we make it a good place for all of us to live in." This is the essence of service learning. Service learning is used as an instructional methodology to make intentional links between the academic curriculum and student work that benefits the community. Service learning is far more than community service alone. High-quality service learning experiences incorporate intentional opportunities for students to analyze and solve community problems through the application of knowledge and skills. Effective service learning programs share the following 8 traits. Number 1, have sufficient duration and intensity to address community needs and meet specified outcomes. Number 2, are used intentionally as an instructional strategy to meet learning goals and/or content standards. Number 3, incorporate multiple challenging reflection activities that are ongoing and that prompt deep thinking and analysis about oneself and one's relationship to society. Number 4, they actively engage participants in meaningful and personally relevant service activities. Number 5, they promote understanding of diversity and mutual respect among all participants. Number 6, are collaborative and mutually beneficial and address community needs. Number 7, they engage participants in an ongoing process to assess the quality of implementation and progress towards meeting specified goals and use results for improvement and sustainability. Lastly, number 8, they provide youth with a strong voice in planning, implementing, and evaluating service learning experiences with guidance from adults. In a spreadsheet, be sure to include the grade level and department, the service that was performed, the curricular connection to that service, and then a reflection of the activity. Use this spreadsheet then and upload it to your application. The quality of life is determined by its activities, said Aristotle. Schools should offer extracurricular activities that provide opportunities for young people to get involved in their schools or communities. Long-term studies of Americans show that those who participated in extracurricular activities in high school remain more civically engaged than their contemporaries even decades later. Thus, everyone should have opportunities to join high school clubs, and participation should be valued. On this proven practice, complete the spreadsheet with the grade level of the students in the program and activity, the number of participants, a description of the extracurricular activity, and lastly, how does this extracurricular activity promote civics? Be sure to include all portions of that in your spreadsheet and upload the spreadsheet to your application. A long tradition of research suggests that giving students more opportunities to participate in the management of their own classrooms and schools builds their civic skills and attitudes. Young people develop into more effective, skilled, and knowledgeable citizens when they feel that students influence the climate and policies of their schools, and that all students' voices are respected and valued. Thus, giving students a voice in school governance and decision-making process is a promising way to encourage all young people to engage civically. For this spreadsheet, complete the grade level of the students involved in the school governance or decision-making, include the number of participants, include a description of the student governance activity, and lastly, make sure to explain how does this activity promote school governance. The last portion is key. Fill all that out on a spreadsheet and then upload that spreadsheet into your application. Schools should encourage students' participation in simulations of democratic processes and procedures. Recent evidence indicates that simulations of voting, trials, legislative deliberation, and diplomacy in schools can lead to heightened political interest and knowledge. Games and other simulations contribute to civic learning by allowing young people to act in fictional environments in ways that could someday be possible for them in the real world. Games and simulations can be constructed so as to be highly engaging and motivating, while also requiring advanced academic skills and constructive interaction with other students under challenging circumstances. For this last spreadsheet, complete the grade level of the students that participate in the simulation, the number of participants in the simulation, a careful description of the democratic simulation activity, and lastly, explain how does this activity simulate the democratic processes. Again, this last portion is key to relate the processes to the civic engagement. Fill all that out in your spreadsheet and then upload your spreadsheet to this portion of your application. Martin Luther King Jr. once said intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. As a matter of definition, a school with a positive climate is one that promotes norms, values, and expectations that support people feeling socially, emotionally, and physically safe. It also supports a sense of unity and cohesion in the school as a community. It promotes a culture of respect and encourages students to consider themselves stakeholders in the school's success. To be successful later in life and contribute to society, students must learn to understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. This is how the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning defines social emotional learning. Students with better socio-emotional skills are likely to be more ethical and effective citizens, and experiences with civic learning can boost SEL outcomes. Construct a narrative on how your school is working to positively improve its culture and climate, as well as addressing students' social emotional needs. In your explanation, be sure to include how your school addresses discipline, what resources are used in improving school climate and culture, how student voice is included in reforms, and ways students are taught to cope and communicate and collaborate. Fill out this narrative in a Word doc or Google Doc form so you can edit it throughout the year, and then upload that Google Doc or form to your application. For the last part of your application, it is a summary of your practices and it's a visual representation of civic learning. Because many of these practices cannot be solely captured in writing, we invite your school to upload a slide deck, which is a PowerPoint, Google Slides, a slides video, or a regular video to showcase the impactful civic learning that takes place within your school community. Your video needs to be no more than 5 minutes long. It should tell a story of all of your great achievements that your school has done. You also need to make sure that if students are identifiable, that your school keeps a media release on file, because some of these videos may be shown publicly to showcase your school later on. Now that we've gone through all of the steps to complete the Civic Education and Community Engagement application, here is a link to fill out and upload your forms. All of the information we've gone over in this video is also on each tab for the form that you fill out. Again, please remember you cannot do a partial application and come back later to return it. It must all be completed in one sitting by May 30th. If you have any questions, please visit our website at www.azed.gov/civicengagement or contact Tammy Waller or Linda Burrows. Thank you.